I think a really cool feature of the Teslas is this ability to learn. Now, if you've driven a Tesla or if you know anything about Teslas, you know they are very advanced AI. There is this whole autonomy system within inside. You got the self-driving part. If you've watched any of the SpaceX dockings, the entire process to go from ground to docking with the International Space Station is all automated. It's a bunch of big giant touchscreens. They push buttons. The AI computer inside automatically figures out what it needs to do. Now, going back to a Tesla, the car, I remember learning about AI and how it was working maybe about 3 or 4 years ago. And that was early on with the Teslas, but this feature was still there. So Teslas are massively connected to the internet, and Tesla still talks to every Tesla that gets sold. They can tell you where the nearest charging station is, and they all learn and update at the same time. But I want to talk about a particular moment where this technology really comes into play and how it applies to fatherhood. And if you have a Tesla, you can kind of sit in the irony that fatherhood works in the same way that your Tesla does. Because when a Tesla has a crash, so it does happen, a Tesla could go down a sharp turn, could be a rainy night, could be a traffic signal that just went wrong, whatever it may be, whatever accident any Tesla is in, the Tesla has massive amounts of data. It has all the sensors, it has all the imagery, and from within that, it can learn what went wrong. It can learn, like, how could I have avoided that moment? What would have prevented me from getting in this accident? And the best example is if you think of a turn, a sharp turn, it's dark, it's night, and a Tesla crashes on that turn. In that moment, throughout the time of that Tesla figuring out what went wrong, Tesla will go in there and look at that data when it gets uploaded and figure out what would have prevented it. Afterwards, every Tesla gets updated. And so every Tesla that takes that turn the next time takes it with the precision of knowing what went wrong the first time. And so there's this massive learning component to every Tesla. That is, every Tesla makes a mistake on autopilot, and whatever mistake, maybe even on manual, whatever mistake happens, every Tesla updates with the lesson learned from that mistake. Now, what does that have to do with fatherhood? This kind of illuminates the lie that many dads tell ourselves that we're supposed to do it alone. They're supposed to make 1,000 mistakes through the time raising your kids, and you're just supposed to figure it out. But that's not how fatherhood works. Fatherhood, for the dawn of time, has been this community effort of taking people that are ahead of us, learning what they've already learned, applying it in our life, and making sure we continue to pass down what we've learned in our life to people behind us that are still coming up, that are still first-time dads. Fatherhood was always meant to be this learning component that where one dad learned, we all learned. But that's the exact opposite of how fatherhood shows up today. Because many dads think we need to learn all of these lessons, and that just because one dad had an accident on that turn, I need to learn it too. Because I can't admit that I don't maybe have a driving problem or whatever problem, and I need to figure it out on my own. I need to learn whatever life lessons I'm supposed to learn from that. But again, that's not how life is supposed to work. Life is supposed to be this self-learning exercise where we learn within the experience of all the collective consciousness of fatherhood. And you can't do that if you're doing it alone. This is why you need men. This is why you need a brotherhood of other men that are at similar points in your life, similar points ahead of you where you want to go. And then you're also able to connect with dads, like I said, that are just getting started. So the thought that I want to leave you with here is think about how are you learning from other dads so that you can learn from those mistakes so you don't have to repeat them. There is no rule book that says every dad has to learn hard mistakes the hard way. Best dads often have collected the knowledge of dads around them. That's how my journey started. I surrounded myself with better dads to help me understand better questions, to get better answers, and to learn from teenagers that are ahead of me and then kids that are behind me. All of these components add up into fatherhood. And most dads are getting it wrong. And I just want to make sure that you are not one of them. And I'll be back again with you tomorrow.